A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the Greenyards in Melrose. The beautiful view from the Scottish borders, where this afternoon the Southern Knights host the men from the capital. Heriot Rugby have made the trip down for what's sure to be an interesting encounter. The FOSROC Super6 sprint continues. The Southern Knights against Heriot. The whole match coming up in about 9 minutes' time. So the FOSROC Super6 Watsonians continue to lead the way. Very good game last night against the Ayrshire Bulls. Only Stirling County can deny them the title. Stirling County and Watsonians will go head to head next Friday evening. The Ayrshire Bulls are done for this campaign, finishing on 20 points. In the bottom half of the table, it's the Boroughmuir Bears who lead the way. Heriot's Rugby are looking to catch up with the Boroughmuir Bears today. And the hosts, the Southern Knights, well, it's been a tough old campaign for them after a very, very good championship series. The FOSROC Super6 sprint has not been kind to the men playing out of Melrose. Well, it's perfect conditions for rugby here at the Greenyards. And Heriots have come, and they've come in confidence. They've had a fairly decent Super 6 against the Southern Knights team who've got a single point. That's just a bonus point try loss. Dale Clancy is alongside me. It's not been a great campaign for the Southern Knights. Dale, what are they hoping to get out of this afternoon's game?
I think they'll just be looking to try and get some sort of cohesion in the squad, and they've got a few players in the team this afternoon that they'll be looking to try and get some experience in the Super 6. As I would say they're the one team really looking ahead towards the regular Super 6 season, which is going to kick off later on this year. But it's been bitterly disappointing. This is a nothing game for Southern Knights. They need to try things. It's perfect conditions to throw the ball about as well. But they need to get some confidence ahead of the regular season. But Heriot, they had a really good win against the Southern Knights in the opening game of the sprint series and looked like one of the teams that could perhaps push up towards the top of the table. But they'll be looking to do the same as well and try and get some momentum and some confidence ahead of the regular season. Yeah,
the Southern Knights won both the championship meetings, a couple of really good games in there, and the start to the Super 6 sprint, I mean, it was 41-24 to Heriot's back at Golden Acre, but I mean, there was tries from Rennick, Scott, Anderson, Russell, Chamberlain nailed these kicks, so they've played well against Heriot's in the past.
Yeah, I think both teams like to play expansive rugby. I think the Southern Knights this season have just maybe been a little bit too obvious. There's been wholesale changes at the Southern Knights with a lot of players defecting and going elsewhere to the other teams. So they've had to do a big rebuild, but there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of rebuilding the squad, getting that spine back in the team. Players like Nathan Chamberlain have been probably a bit of a saviour for the Southern Knights because they've been pretty weak in terms of personnel, and Nathan Chamberlain's been pretty consistent at standoff, and you would feel he's a player that they'll be trying to look to try and retain for the season that's going to be coming ahead. But it's it's going to be a great afternoon of rugby. Both teams like to throw the ball about, and hopefully, because it's one of those games that they'll both throw caution to the wind, we should be entertained to provide a good spectacle.
Well, we certainly hope so. Let's have a look at the teams. The Southern Knights this afternoon, well, they do look strong at 10 with Nathan Chamberlain. Ben Afshar is in at 9. That'll be a very interesting half-back partnership. Robbie Chalmers and Billy Wara certainly got the capabilities, and if they can get the ball out to Patrick Anderson, 4 tries in his last 14 at Super 6 level, his last against Heriot's back in April. A few young faces on the bench as well. James Bett, the young hooker, is there. Jacob Henry hasn't seen action in the sprint series so far. Be interesting to see if Ben Pickles comes off the bench to make his debut for the Southern Knights, who are led by Bruce Ruthan. It's a team that's got more potential than perhaps they've shown.
Yeah, I think they're obviously looking to try and bring in some players like the Ben Pickles has played his rugby in the Premiership campaign for Selkirk. So like to James Bett as well. So they're looking to try and make these links in the borders to try and get the players coming through. But it'll be interesting to see if Callum Rennick comes off the bench as well. He's had a good campaign for Hoyk as they were defeated by Mar in the semi-final of the Premiership campaign. But it gives them a step up, and I think this is where they'll be looking towards the regular season, and they'll be having an eye and trying the new partnerships. Ben Afshar as well at 9. He's an electric scrum half, so it'll be interesting to see that pairing as well.
So Heriots have travelled down from Golden Acre, and it's a fairly consistent looking Heriots team. In the front three, Chris Keane, Cammy Fenton and Dan Gamble. It's Cammy Fenton's first start of the Super 6 sprint. At 9 and 10, well, they've got the experience of Murdo McAndrew, Charlie Savala at 10, and a couple of former Southern Knights players dotted in there as well, Bruce, which always makes it interesting.
Yeah, they've got a really cohesive squad. I think they've managed to probably maintain most of it throughout the whole campaign, but probably the second rows and the back rows for Heriot have been really strong. Hasty and Leishman, they've kind of interchanged. They can play second row, they can play in the back row, but Ian Wilson as well at 7, he's a phenomenal player, and there is that familiarity from the players, McAndrew, Picure and Godsmart coming back as well, as is Ewan McLaren. He played a bit of rugby at the Southern Knights as well, so they've certainly built a really competitive squad, and I think again they'll be looking to try and get some momentum as they look towards the regular season.
Yeah, there's certainly a danger if they can get the ball in hand. Picure, Hutchison, Godsmart, and Cooper as well is having a fine season. He wears 14 for Heriot's Rugby this afternoon. Head coach is Andrew Kelly, and he will be asking of his men to do what they did on the opening weekend of the Super 6. That is defeat the Southern Knights. It's a beautiful day to come out and watch a game of rugby. Perhaps the odd refreshment as well will be taken, but it is perfect conditions. And what we're hoping for is just positive rugby. The Southern Knights, you could argue, Bruce, if they retreated slightly, you couldn't blame them. But I'd like to think Bruce Ruthven will say to them, look, just go out, relax, and see what we can get from us. Yeah,
I think that's got to be the message to the Southern Knights players is try something, try and stand out, try and drag this team forward. And it is brilliant conditions. It's obviously a 3G surface as well, so there's it's brilliant playing conditions for any player, and I think that will lead to being a really open game. The Southern Knights they're obvious the way that they play. They like to try and be really structured in the areas of the park that they play in, but it might be the day that they try and release the shackles a little bit and put a little bit more responsibility onto the players.
Usually plenty of tries when these two go head to head, and we'll be certainly hoping for that to be the case. Been 120 tries in the 16 Super 6 sprint games so far. That's nearly 8 per game, and we'd settle for that this afternoon. Bit blustery down at the Greenyards, and we'll see who can take advantage of those conditions. Just await the teams. So too do the little guard of honour, all the ball boys and ball girls standing down the famous Greenyards tunnel, waiting for the Southern Knights and Heriots to join us on, as I say, what is a beautiful day. Head to head, well, they've met 5 times at Super 6 level. Southern Knights have won 2, Heriots have won 3. The home side tends to get the better of things. They have won 3 out of 5, including the last 2. And it's going to be a big afternoon too for referee Michael Todd, who makes the step up for his first refereeing assignment of this 2022 Super 6 sprint campaign. And it's always interesting to see how referees handle the step up, because they're trying to do the same move up from grassroots level, Division 2 or 3, you get to the Premiership and you move on through.
Yeah, I think I've always praised the Super 6, the idea of it, because it's such a great development tool for everybody involved at this level, be it a player, a coach, and the referees as well. This is the other step on the ladder as they look to try and really cement a career in officiating. And I think that the standard of refereeing as well has improved because of it. So it's a great platform for the referees as well as the players.
So Heriots take to the field. Two very familiar faces among that Heriots starting 15. And they will pose a real challenge. There's absolutely no doubt about that to the Southern Knights. 15 there, Bruce Houston is a good man to have at 15. And it is the all-weight affair for the Southern Knights, led out by their skipper, Fraser Lennox. Fraser Lennox there wears 2. It's quite a responsibility he has as well, just a young man. He's 24 years old, there's a lot more senior players in that side.
Yeah, but I think the way the Southern Knights do work it with usually Russell Anderson as well, whoever's starting hooker he takes the armband, and and I think he's got a lot of experience. Although he's young, he's been in the professional, semi-professional game for a while, so he does bring that level of experience to the Southern Knights. But you know, it is a difficult job because confidence is pretty low at the Greenyards with this team, so he's got a big job on his hands to try and get some continuity into the team's performance.
It's Nathan Chamberlain who will look to get the afternoon underway.
Heriot, we ready? Knights, we ready? Time on.
So the FOSROC Super 6 Sprint Series continues, and we are underway.
Set.
Good tackle by Aidan Cross. Martin McAndrew. Trying to lead the way, Cammy Fenton. Good tackling from Dalton Redpath.
Chase, stay on.
McAndrew is going to stretch and get the box
back.
kick away. It's taken back inside. Callum Grieve, good take, but immediately he's met. It was excellent work by Lewis Gurnall. She was providing the platform. Half shot. On to Dan Gamble. Half shot again. Trying to get the Chalmers involved. It's been turned over. That's excellent work. Cammy Hutchison. Martin McAndrew. Charlie Savala. Caught there. And this is where Heriot's are dangerous. He certainly had men out. Sam Facour's waiting for it. Facour drops the shoulder, meets the fullback. Sandy Derrick tried to get across that. Come back on to Murdo McAndrew. Comes through the hands of Savala. Lively stuff from Heriot's, presented back. That's a good tackle. Hutchison going backwards. Tackle made.
Yes, clear.
Pop pass back inside. Looking for Gamble, but holding on. Not release, and that's the problem.
Release, first man on the ball.
Rowan Sedak getting pegged there, the man with the black scrum cap.
Wallace Nelson on the floor doing what all good back rows do. You can see there he just managed to release quickly and get his hands over that.
Holding on.
The Heriot's player to hold the ball in. And so great work on the floor from the Southern Knights, but Heriot's do look dangerous. And that line earlier from Ian Wilson, he just straightened it up to create that overlap for the next phase. And that's going to be an area that Heriot will look to do. They do bring their back rows into the game really effectively.
Some back row, Ian Wilson. Lewis Govan Luckware's sexual releasement. So the first work for Fraser Rack from the throw. Slightly shortened line out. Matthew Woodward is at the back three. He's the lifter for Dalton Redpath. Half shot. There's Wallace Nelson.
First man's good turnover.
It's another turnover. Ian Wilson sends it on his way. Look for releasement, he's put out. And therein lies part of the problem. Bruce, taking it in, you get the turnover, you get your pocket pick. That's where the Knights have to be better protecting their own ball.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's the beauty of Heriot's with that. You know, the second row and the back rows that they have, they're interchangeable. It was work there from Hasty and Sedak at the breakdown, allowed them to get that turnover. But they're players who are equally as comfortable in the back row as well, and I think that's what Heriot's almost go for. They've got a front row and then pretty much 5 loose forwards in behind the big pack.
Redpath again on the take, inside from Nelson. Good tackle. Savala wears 10 for Heriot's. Sharp.
Leave it, Blue.
Woodward. That's the charge, getting some help from Rudy Brown. Pass on the inside, that comes off the hands of Billy Waller. Turned over. Hutchison. Pull back a little bit deeper, brings Bruce Houston into first receiver. And going for the kick. That might take a Southern Knights bounce, although he's going to be forced to take it. Callum Grieve. He gets the distance, but he doesn't find touch. Here come Heriot's. Inside, and it's 10-9, Murdo McAndrew. McAndrew in there. Fraser Hasty not sure what to do. Doesn't want to play scrum half, but it's been turned over. And we'll go on the inside.
Set.
He waits, but Ben Afshar gets the kick himself. It's another good take.
You trapped in balls there.
Fenton wears two, tries to get it off to Govenlock.
Chase
A
on.
bit deeper, Savala's going to go for the chip through. Hutchison is there, tried to lay it off to Pickard. It's going to be picked up by Grieve. He's going to be hauled down by Godsmark.
Against White.
Chris West for entertainment, we're certainly trying to get that.
Yeah, it's been relentless, the penalty there for the tackle off the ball. That is great work from Savala's been pretty good so far, to be fair. He's asking questions of the Southern Knights defence. He's shown his ability with the ball in hand, distributing and also kicking. So the pivot between him and Houston's going to be interesting this afternoon, because they're both interchangeable. But it's a good attacking opportunity now for Heriot to keep the pressure on the Knights.
Carry across, Chris Houston. I'm just wondering when Rugby's just going to say, look, we know you're going to kick it in the corner, we'll just nominate that. It's going to come at some point.
Yeah, but it takes away the fact that some kickers do kick it out in the full, which is always quite interesting to see.
Yeah. It's almost like conceding a putt. Cammy Fenton, then it goes, here comes the ball, he'll immediately go to the back, disrupted slightly though by the Knights. That was good work. Two number 8s holding on to each other. Oh, they're close and trying to roll over. Well, Ian Wilson was trying to push the way, but the extra roll, we could see it from here.
Yeah, that was Sam Derrick. Great defence from him there. He's had a great campaign in National 1, and he's been a standout performer for Melrose, so it's good to see him get the opportunity here. But you can see he's just put a lot of pressure on
trying to roll
when he's
over
going forward, and he actually makes him take that extra roll to try and protect the ball. So great defensive work from the Knights 8.
Another good spot as well from referee Michael Todd. It was more than just the extra reaction, it was the complete roll.
It was the pressure on the roll as well, because he was actually trying to get the ball back. So it was so obvious that that the roll was coming, but it's pressure from the number 8 that kind of forced Cammy Fenton to try and fight and protect that ball.
A good start from Samuel Derrick. It's the 4th appearance at this level.
Line out over.
Nice little move from the line out and into the back.
That's fine, same
into
ball.
Rennick.
Two don't change.
They're taking on Gamble. That's pretty much the only player there. Woodward goes in to help.
Stop.
You can see he's trying to grab Woodward. Now does get his jersey.
Weight to ground.
So the Knights took it to ground. They've got to get it out of there, and that's the problem. Well, that's where you see the players coming over the top, reaching. You saw the drag of the jersey by Ronan Sedak. And that's just changed the whole.
Does get his jersey.
Yeah, I think it's not expertly defended, that maul. The attacking maul is such a good exponent for teams to utilise, but you can see Sedak there using all his experience, getting over the top and quite unorthodox, but he's defended that maul really, really well and put pressure on Rennick, because they did have a bit of momentum in that maul, and it just all went with that little pull. Brought him into the heart of the maul, and it starts collapsing.
First scrum, lads, square and stable. Yeah.
So the front row is Grand Shields, Fraser Rennick, Matthew Woodward. Matthew Woodward making just a second start at this level up against Chris Keane. Experienced Cammy Fenton and Dan Gamble. McAndrew.
Can you use it?
Andrew gets the ball away. Good inside work from Cammy Hutchison there. Here's Piquet. He's got plenty of pace. Spins it out wide. No way through. I think he's isolated. He is. That was just the wrong option. They had players ready and set, and Heriots will disagree, but this looked like the wrong choice.
Yeah, just when that ball gets kicked back, I think Ian Wilson slightly panics, thinking that he just needs to get his hands on the ball and tidy it up. It was actually pretty well protected, but he just ran into the heart of, you know, the cavalry was arriving for the Southern Knights, and he just ran straight into them. So it was going to be an uphill battle to try and get that ball back. And the Knights defending really well on the floor so far. It's been a really keenly contested area on the floor. We've seen a couple of penalties so far, but the Knights are making a good account of themselves defensively.
That's a good point you make, because referees can see almost anything on the floor. You know, you can get pinged fairly easily.
Yeah, the back rows certainly. Derek and Ian Wilson, so Derek of Southern Knights and Wilson of Heriot. You know, you teeter on the edge of the laws, and it's a dangerous area to try and officiate, because you've got to be careful with the players, but both teams certainly looking for fighting on the floor.
Dalton Redpath again, winning the ball well off the top, running through, trying to get past Ian Wilson. Ashart, Chamberlain, Reeve into the line. Patrick Anderson, there's the player doing the protecting. There's a little pass on the inside. Fenton trying to take down Ferry. Ashart again.
Scrum advantage.
Difficult one. And the knock on, and come back for one of these ones that when you're at 10, first receiver, and you're being mobbed at that point.
Yeah, I think if you're to sum up the Knights campaign so far, you could probably sum it up in that move, because they look like they're getting ahead of steam, and you can see there Chamberlain just runs out of options. The two players, the 2 second rows coming really narrow, but the Heriot's defence up quickly, cut off the options, and he's still trying to play that ball. He's looking to play rugby, but just then it just got a little bit scrappy because of the pressure from Heriot. Some Knights look like they're starting to go through the gears, but there's just these little errors that creep into their game which stop that momentum and kill the pressure on the opposition.
Southern Knights, 7 wins in 17 games in the Super 6 across the championship and the sprint series in 2021-22. Looking for the first win of this sprint campaign. That looked a little bit messy coming round. And the referee
round on the mark before there's any go forward. Yeah, that's fine. Just round on the mark before there's any go forward. Dan, from the far side AR, you need to say
If you've ever been at the Greenyards when it's been raining and howling a gale, it's like a different sport in this weather.
Yeah, it's lovely. This is it's almost Sevens weather. It's lovely to see the players being able to benefit from these conditions, because rugby mostly is a winter sport in the UK. So it's nice to be given the opportunity to run out in a park with the sun beating down on your back. So hopefully the teams will start to get through the gears and take advantage of these nice dry conditions.
Ian Wilson's packed down at 8.
Use it!
Southern Knights holding strong. Call of use it from the referee. Well, just a little bit forward, I think.
Yes, that just strayed slightly forward, but you can see the options there. They want to get the ball to the wingers really quickly. Savala's a quite an evasive 10, but you can see just when he gets the ball here, he's almost, I think the runners have perhaps just got a little bit too flat, and sometimes that happens when you change your 10s, because they'll be used to the pace of Bruce Houston, and then Savala comes in. The outside backs do need to adjust to that, but perhaps just getting a little bit keen and forcing Savala to drift that ball forward.
First start for Heriots for Charlie Savala. Plenty of experience in and around him to help him out. The 21-year-old.
Let's go. Let's go, boys. Get noisy indeed.
Crouch! Sink when you're ready.
Sink! Sink.
Bind! Set!
Pressure! Pressure! Pressure!
Benjamin Ashart
Just stay on mode.
pops the ball in.
Yeah, go inside, go inside, go inside.
Out the side. Chamberlain. Wara.
Yeah,
Can't connect
scrum
again.
advantage.
It's a handling area.
No
A
advantage.
handling error in a bad
Lost
area.
forward in the contact.
And again, lost forward. Couldn't hold it in the contact.
Yeah, you can see Rob Moffat just at the corner of the screen, just disappointed with the ball not getting through the hands. But that's the third occasion that the Knights have tried a strike move off of first or second phase ball,
The tip of the wire will
and
be the mark.
this error's happened. Chamberlain to the previous one there, and there was one earlier on where Heriot's rushed up, and
Mark's just
they're
the
still
white,
trying to
the
play So it's almost like they've just not got the freedom at the moment to, to play rugby and show a little bit of innovation, because that was a set move, just getting a little bit flat again, and the ball's just drifting forward. So these little errors, they compile and allow the opposition to benefit from them, get territory, and put the pressure back on. So when they've got the ball, they really need to start looking to protect it.
Coach! Bind! Set!
Andrew, the usual straight squint feed scrum halves have mastered these days. Again, McAndrew. Vickers calling for it. It comes to him. Takes on Aiden Cross.
Off now, White!
McAndrew.
Leave it.
Came through onto Leishman. Tackled just slightly off the ball, but the referee happy. Heriot's in position.
That's flat.
Chamberlain, that was really flat onto Fenton. Fenton with a pop pass up to Keane. McAndrew through the hands of Hutchison. That is a really good tackle. Patrick Anderson driving Heriot's backwards. And now Samuel Derrick trying to wrap up Gavin Locke. Fraser Hasty. Hasty trying to come around the corner. Referee just was in one of those positions, not sure which way it was going to go. Sampikar. I don't want him to get ahead of steam. Chamberlain retreats back into 10. Ball's available. Leishman thought about giving a little pass on the inside channel, but McAndrew is now there. Houston. He's making a lot of carries, Cammy Fenton. Now they'll come slightly deeper. Houston will try and jab that one through. And the players will learn a breather, as that's how to play just outside the 22 of the Southern Knights.
Very good option there from Zavala. They'd made some good territory, then conceded some, and then they find a lot of joy in the 15 metres to the touchline. Heriot are managing to stretch the Knights and get a good territorial gain from there, but they're just realising that the move, it lost a bit of that bite, and he just wants to get territory, keep the ball down here, keep the pressure on the opposition in their 22, and these errors might creep in to allow Heriot to pounce and get the opening score in this game.
Grant Shields with a headband. Scored a try last time out against Heriot's. Siders controlling this from the line out.
Line out over.
And looking for the exit play.
Steel's good.
Well, that's another great turnover, and again Southern Knights not taking care of the ball. Chris Keane driving forward. I thought he held on. And that brings the penalty the way of the Southern Knights, and Heriot's Dale unable to make much of the turnover.
Yeah, we were just saying that you want to keep the pressure down here and try and benefit from any mistakes, and it was great work from Chris Keane in the maul to get that ball back on a Heriot side, but just when it was actually Leishman who got it and Keane just off the side. But he's tackled really, really well by Fraser Rennick, who's released there. You can see straight over the ball, and he's a big lad to try and shift when you're trying to clear him out. And you can see the Heriot's players had to go with a couple of their personnel to try and clear him out the road. But good work again on the floor from the Knights. But again, you can see these little errors starting to come in, these little handling errors, which are allowing Heriot's opportunities.
Nearly a quarter of the match gone, still awaiting the first points between the Southern Knights, all in white, and Heriot's their traditional blue and white hooped colours. Dalton Redpath been effective from the line out. There's the steal. That was beautifully done again by Rory Leishman. Now driving in Lewis Gullenlock. Ball does come back. McAndrew quickly away by Zavala. Referee is playing an advantage. It's been kicked away by Nye Godsmark. I think Robbie Chalmers was up offside, and the penalty is given.
And this is where Heriots need to take advantage. I feel they're controlling the game. They've had most of the ball, but when they've got these penalties, they need to make sure they're kicking down into territory, trying to make a good territorial gain and go through the phases in the opposition 22, because neither team's really had a chance to do that, to build some pressure and try and work hard to create these spaces to try and exploit in the back line.
And they're from from the line out. I mean, there was nobody trying to block Rory Leishman whatsoever. I mean, he just easily came through and helped himself.
Yeah, he's brilliant in the line out. And again, it comes back to the point that they've got pretty much 5 second rows, 5 back rows. They can all play the same position. You know, between Hastie, Sadak, Govanlock, Wilson and Leishman, they've got a really, really solid line out. But you could see they read that one pretty well. They knew where it was going. Dalton Redpath is the Southern Knights' usual target in the line out, so they just managed to read that, and Leishman managed to get a big paw to get the ball back on the Heriot side. And it's great because they end up winning the penalty and they can put a bit of pressure on.
Yeah, just make sure we get a good clear
There's
roll,
Govanlock,
get a good release, and I can reward you if you're on the ball.
Currently down and struggling, and he's looking at the bench, and that is the look of a player who's not going to continue. So Callum Anderson is the player who will come on for the Cathedral Club.
Yeah, just send them on.
19-year-old, back row forward, and just a second appearance at this level, and he gets the chance to come on. It's your story. You sit on the bench, and there's so many players on the bench now with it. You know you're going to get on at some point, but you've got to be ready.
Yeah, I think that, you know, especially at this level, we see the benches getting utilised really well. You know, in rugby, you know, your bench is going to be used at some point in the game. We see sometimes on the hour mark in the Super 6 sprint series, a lot of the teams do shuffle the pack about the hour mark, which sometimes takes a bit of the sting out of the game. But you know, Callum Anderson will get a good run out and certainly put his hand up for the regular season. So it's his opportunity here to get some good game time under his belt.
12 offside.
We wish Lewis Govanlock well as they'll take him down the tunnel. In fact, I might just check him at the side first. It's probably warmer out there.
Yeah, play on backwards. White,
Callum Grieve.
Hold. Good, thank you.
Again, misses touch with the kick. Actually, that was meant for Bruce Houston, but he fancied he could take it above his head. Not an easy one, but well taken by Nathan Chamberlain. He has come outside the 22. Changes the dynamics in terms of the kick. Marshall waits at the base. Fraser Hastie trying to do a little bit of tipping. Just to get his opponent out of the way. And the kick is infield, the wind just catching, it's a difficult one. That was a difficult ball to get. Picker sends it out wide. Hutchison back inside to Gunsmart.
7 straight in the side.
Ian Wilson pinged for coming in at the side. I have to say,
7
wasn't really
straight
convinced that he had to.
Yeah, I think that the ball looked like it was almost secure, but you can see there it's as clear as day that he's just, you know, grabbed onto the Southern Knights jackal when he's been beside him, really. But that comes back to missing touch from the penalty, and I feel Heriots are that team that, you know, when I watched them in the opening game against Knights, and we covered the game at Megatland against Boroughmuir, and you know they were a really, really good outfit, but you feel these little errors and these little mistakes are the things that Watsonians and Stirling and Ayrshire Bulls at the moment, they're the mistakes that those teams aren't making, and it's the fine margins of being competitive towards the top of the table and obviously fighting in the bottom 3. So it's those errors they need to start finding touch, because now Southern Knights have got a great attacking opportunity deep into the Heriots half.
Come on back. John, get me inside. I'll get first, please. Get up, Lee.
So Shields, Brown, Derek, and then Redpath, who's the normal target. And they'll play it into Derek this time. Immediately the ball to the back. There's Fraser Ronick. Ronick still has it. 5 tries in 16 over the 2021-22 campaign.
4 out now.
Some Borders beef is added to that. Now it comes out. Here's the chance. Off 12 for Robbie Chalmers.
Leave it blue.
Billy Wara going in there as well. Heriots may have turned that over. Lucky to hold on the Knights. Ferry. Ashar. Here's the chance for Chamberlain. Chamberlain sends it out wide. Samuel Derrick tried to cut inside. 5 metres short. Dropping the shoulder. Rudy Brown being held up there by Dan Gamble, but he managed to get his knee on the deck. It's good counter rucking. Afshar. Chance for Dalton Redpath. Well held up. Work from Callum Anderson. Tried to rip the ball free. Swimming through Alan Ferry. Ashar will come back to the right hand side. Here's the opportunity for Wara. Wara simply ran into Sedak. There's a little miss pass. She went to ground. Eddie Brown will gather. See Robbie Chalmers wearing 12, trying to barrel him forward. Chance for the prop, Grant Shields.
Use it!
Ashar. Sign of a good scrum half, always looking both left and right to see what his options are. Rennick has it, but he's been jackled there. He was lucky to get that, and it comes back on the Heriot side. And it's away by Charlie Savala. Doesn't quite find touch. Here's Callum Grieve. Oh, there's not a lot of space down there. Stayed inside by a whisker. Now this is broken play. Rennick on the little inside onto Aidan Cross.
No 50-22.
Played across. Half shot. It's inside his opponent's half. McCurt will knock the ball back onto Bruce Houston. He will find touch. Think about taking this quickly, they will do. Ashar. Oh, with a juggle, but there's some space now. Callum Grieve getting a chance to stretch.
Wait, no left.
I'm not convinced about Kemi Hutchison's positioning there. He got out enough.
Shoulder.
Referee's up with play, calling that shoulder, not a high tackle. That just a little flick pass towards Warwick. Cross picks up. Trying to find a way through there. Oh, ran into Alan Ferry, his own man. Ashar. Through the hands of Rennick. Out wide it comes. Chalmers gets it on. Redpath. Well, he's taken this a Warner. And then drops it. Scrum advantage for the knock on. It was recovered by Ronan Sedak. Well, Dale, we did wonder. As there's always a little bit of afters. Winger against prop, not advisable.
Yeah, Paddy Anderson, he's a hard duns lad. I'm sure he'll fancy his chances. But it's great from the Knights there to actually, they're stretching the play, getting the ball into the wider channels, and then Redpath, who went on a great barnstorming run there. They had options, they had quicker players outside him, or somebody just to truck it up. It's what they done there. But again, that little error, that little knock on. But I'll tell you what, Cammy Fenton is in a game which is still scoreless after 25 minutes. He has been very industrious about the park. He got the turnover deep into about 2-3 metres away from the Heriot's line. He was the player that got the turnover. He's been offering himself up for umpteen runs and umpteen carries as well. So Cameron Fenton is really standing out so far, certainly on the floor and also carrying the ball, because he saved what probably would have been a try, because the Knights were putting that pressure on and starting to really move that Heriot's defence. So the hooker has certainly had a good first 25 minutes.
Bit of time to cool down. Well, not cool down, but at least get your breath back.
So the quick throw in was clever here. It's good work.
Everyone happy?
Benjamin Afshar almost fooled his standoff, but then got things moving. And there's Grieve, lovely little step, just taking it into contact.
Scrum.
Actually taken down by Hutchinson.
Lost 4 by White in the tackle.
Nathan Chamberlain, just, when you feel the ball on the very edge of your fingers.
Yeah, it's a nightmare as well. No pressure, but it's... you can see there that broken field running from Callum Grieve. That's what dislodges the defence. That's what allows teams to play. And you could see when Dalton Redpath got it, he benefited from that, because the Heriot's defence is having to retreat, scramble, get back into position. It's just unfortunate for Redpath that the ball just squirmed out of his fingers when he was bumping off Heriot's players for fun.
Bind!
The lowest scoring game in the Super 6 was an 8-0 game. I'm still confident we're going to exceed that. We've got plenty of time. Only a couple of teams have failed to score points in the Super 6 games. Heriots are one of them. And as the ball comes out, it's taken on the crash, trying to move it forward. Was Hutchison. Heriots were blanked against the Bulls back in September.
Yeah, good now.
That's Charlie Savala, sends it long. Callum Grieve waits for it.
White, hold in front.
Grieve,
thank you.
21-year-old, can play centre out at full back today. Houston gets away from Wara. Trying to drive through Sedak.
Carried back.
Taken back in.
Scrum
Savala
advantage
with a
wide.
pass towards Fenton. That was knocked on. And now here's
Advantage
the
over.
opportunity. It's Robbie Chalmers.
Advantage. 13 no
Advantage comes again. Benjamin Asher looks to see if he had options. Ian Wilson took him down. Now, Alan
Yeah,
Ferry
you have the advantage.
tried to truck it forward. Southern Lights just inquiring that they still have the advantage. They do so. Down Redpath, trying to drag his man forward. Asher plays it across.
Release,
He came out really quickly there.
Use it.
Asher, Matthew Woodward, one of the players signed as an emergency loan. It's cover. And his chance to start today. Asher. On to Chamberlain. Chamberlain plays it out. Here it should come out wide. No advantage. The ball went forward. The referee will bring it back for the penalty.
Yeah, a good opportunity for the Knights to throw the ball about, and almost took full advantage of that with some great hands by the outside
13
backs.
no
First
wrong
Chalmers
throwing
and
the
then
ball.
Billy Wara getting the ball through the hands, but just drifting forward. But that's what they need to do, be able to. It was actually Grieve came into the line, and then to Wara, who almost released Sam Derrick on the wing. But that's what you need to do when you've got the advantage. Try and play rugby, throw caution into the wind, and sometimes it pays off. But you know, they've got the safety net, the fact that they can ping this ball into the corner, and they've got a very effective driving maul as well. So we might be about to see the first score of the game.
Nathan Chamberlain.
Time off.
That's time off. A couple of players down. And the opportunity for a little water break as well. Sunshine on the borders. It might catch on.
Yeah, I know. Who would have thought we'd have scheduled water breaks in the borders? But you know, it's been an entertaining game for being 0-0. You know, both teams have tried to manipulate the defences, try and create the opportunities, but you know, at times it's been quite attritional between both 22s. It's been fought very well on the floor as well. And you feel this first half, whoever's going to go down the tunnel, if somebody's going to go down the tunnel in the lead, it's perhaps who's going to be able to eradicate those little mistakes in the next 10 minutes, because both teams have been guilty of these little unforced errors. And you can see there Scott White enjoying a refreshment, and Robin Purdy there as well, I can see with a pint in hand. So certainly I think there's something in the borders has got to catch on.
Oh, a nice water break for the fans as well, although you can see the T-shirt, the big A, the Atlanta Braves baseball team. I wonder if he was always a fan, or whether it's just because they won the World Series last year. Says a very bitter Tampa Bay Rays fan.
It was maybe an offer at Tiki Maxx or something in the borders. We've not got a lot of retail outlets.
Just come up a look, Chris.
Numbers.
Time back on.
Wonderful summer game of baseball. Here, the barbecue is going, the beer is flowing, and the players are entertaining. But we still await the opening points.
Wait for the Murder, wait for the arm. Ben, wait for the arm. Yep.
As it goes. And momentarily, as Fraser Rennick breaks away, can he get it down? Inches away. And the score is there. And the player getting all the applause is Alan Ferry. Managed to barrel his way through. But that was built from Fraser Rennick. Rennick went down, ran into traffic. And you can see there, number 6. Alan Ferry just waits. Got it. And did enough to barrel his way through. It was the second attempt that got him through the first score of the afternoon for the Southern Knights.
Yeah, obviously the Southern Knights were trying to go for a driving maul and get closer to that line, but you can see sometimes just the right place at the right time. The ball squirmed out of the maul. Fraser Rennick was there, and it catches defences a bit cold. They're prepared. They know that they're going to be defending a driving maul, then all of a sudden they're having to retreat 5 metres, get on the line, get to those close quarter areas to try and defend round the fringes. And Heriot just couldn't get there quick enough, and it was you know, Alan Ferry, he's a big lad, so obviously managed to get round and muscle his way over the line.
Used the 6'2" frame pretty well. Can they add the extras? The flags go up. That's a good kick from Nathan Chamberlain. Well, it's taken nearly half an hour, but we do have a try and some points on the board, courtesy of Alan Ferry, who scores for the first time since he scored against Heriot back in September.
We did say that if they kicked the ball into the corner, there was a chance that the try would come. And they were just needed to be patient there. You know, they didn't panic when the ball squirmed out of the maul as well. They were very professional in their approach. Fraser Rennick just trucked it up. the cavalry got round as well and offered their support. So it was a well executed try in the end, albeit a little bit advantageous.
Charlie Savala, Edinburgh player, sends it forward. To come off the shin rather than cleanly off the boot. It's going to be well taken by Ian Wilson. Never met contact he didn't like. Bruce Houston, and make sure he gets down. McAndrew. First receiver is Dan Gamble.
Ball's lifted.
McAndrew again. Bruce Houston. It's a couple of slow balls from Murdo McAndrew, and that just means the defence can come up so quickly. It's Cammy Fenton. There's bouncing players out the way. Not sure if that's Afshar that's been hurt. And there's certainly a player down. In fact, it was Alan Ferry. 6 not 9. I can't read upside down.
He's on body.
McAndrew going smart. Out to Vickert. Oh, has to take a bounce. But he can go from a standing start. Now the little clip through. He seemed to get tangled with Aidan Cross. Referee happy. And Chalmers will play that back. Afshar tries the really long kick. Would have been a 50-22 of some note. James Cooper. And drills the ball away. It's not a great kick from James Cooper. Well, we've not seen in an attacking sense. They've tended to come down the left side rather than the right, so he's not had too much work to do. To the physio for getting out of the way.
I know, I understand, but
this is the danger of Sam Pukura. He can just from a standing start just accelerate.
Yeah, you know, a lot of experience in international sevens with Scotland, and he's just got that. He's got that, you know, ball playing ability that he's able just to drop it onto his toe there and kick it forward under immense pressure. But, you know, Heriot, when you mentioned there, James Cooper, there was part of me that actually forgot he was playing because he's been so quiet so far in the opening half hour here. He's not been allowed really. All of the play has been on this near side, not over on the stand side. So it's been difficult for him to get involved, and you can see there as a winger, you need confidence. He gets the ball, it comes off the side of his boot, and it's a big territorial gain for the Southern Knights, and they certainly seem up for this. You can hear the applause and the pressure that they're putting on when that kick didn't go to plan for Cooper.
A nice little spot in the sunshine. Shade if required. And enjoy the rugby. Hope you're enjoying all the action from the FOSROC Super 6 sprint. That's the penultimate weekend of the tournament.
Let's go up
A
there.
little chance here for the home side just to put some more pressure on. Fraser Rannick.
Time back on.
Line-out has been disrupted a couple of times.
The Knights have certainly grown into this game over the last 10-15 minutes, and they've enjoyed more territory, so they'll be looking to, you know, camp down here and get through the phases.
Good contact.
Deep that time, Alan Ferry.
Yeah. Cheers, Bob.
Derek on the charge. That was dropped, so it should be a knock on.
Good timing.
And the timing rated by the referee is perfect. Don Redpath just inquiring of the charge out, but you could see here was Rudy Brown unable to bring this one in. He was met virtually immediately.
Yeah, tried to get the ball through his hands quickly because he could see that the pressure was coming on from the Heriot's defence, and you know, the Heriots have been doing that quite a lot at kind of first receiver. They've been ushering somebody up pretty quickly. The defensive line has had some good tempo to it, so it is inviting these errors and these handling errors from the Knights. But you can see again the second rows and the back rows for Heriot, so they're really good athletes.
Set.
So Murdo McAndrew gets ready to pop the ball in. Pins number 6, Super 6 level. That's a good scrum from Heriot. Just trying to keep it in was Ian Wilson. McAndrew, Houston. Now here is Cooper, gets a chance to go on the run. And I tell you what, he's got some pace. That's a great little ball back inside to McAndrew. The ball is available. It's pulled back again. Savala. Hutchison. Here's Houston. They've got the overlap if they can get there. Sam Pukura. I just thought Leishman was a little bit slow in getting the ball to him. It's good tackling by Crossing Cole. Billy Wara trying to go on the clean out. Now it's looped up high. 4 is Fraser Hasty. It's looking to reply. There's the little latch on Wilson. Ball is available. They've come over and through. At the penalty, they've come through illegally.
Nah, not
And at the side, I think, is the indication from the referee.
This player. First player's legal, one's in the
Great,
side.
you know, I was saying that I'd forgot Cooper was even playing. He certainly announced himself there with that run down the stand side, because it was a great pass back in field as well. Kept the, you know, the momentum going in that move, and even when the ball came out after the breakdown, they retreated about 10 metres, but knowing that the defence from the Southern Knight has to get back in position, they were able to then get the ball over to the this near side and try and exploit these areas. But again, good work. The support work from Heriot is impressive, because Murdo McAndrew was the first player to offer support, and you know that the players do get there to try and protect the ball carrier.
Under 5 minutes to the break. A well-earned one from both these sets of players. They're giving everything. It's a good take that comes through onto Anderson. Apologies if you picked up the bad language. Southern Knights subjecting to the positioning of the Heriot's back row. It's a maul, and there was no way through from Heriot's, and credit there. Isaac Brace got himself onto the ball. You can see him there, big bushy beard, and wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see that line out from the start, because you could hear over the ref's mic that the Heriots were complaining that they feel that the line out jumper was actually, you know, met before he was back on ground, so it would be a tackle in the air. So, you know, that it would be very interesting to see that back as Fenton pops it in. So they were claiming that he was hit before, which they've probably got a case, because you can see Redpath was, you know, almost on top of him, and he managed to get his shoulder into his hip without ducking down. So I think Heriots perhaps have a case there, but the referee saw it in a completely different light.
Coach! Bind! Set!
Jacob Henry is on the field of play. And that looks messy. Which way the referee's going to call it?
In the cross.
Herriot's simply not driving correctly. Chris Keane is penalised.
Yeah, that's you know, that's unfortunate for Heriots, because it certainly looked like they had a lot of pressure on there. But Chris Keane, you can see in the left hand side of that scrum, he's been penalised for driving across there. So the referee giving the penalty to the Southern Knights, and you know, it's a good penalty to get at this time in the game with a 7-point lead, so they'll be able to just kick downfield and relieve some pressure temporarily.
Not the longest kick in the world from Nathan Chamberlain, but as long as they can take the line out, they'll be quite happy from that. Jacob Henry is on just off the bench for the second time in the sprint series. Callum Grave is the player who has been withdrawn.
Please get up.
Let's go, please,
Prop
White.
forwards wearing blue and orange boots.
Going back to Hasty.
Yeah, you've got to play well to pull them off.
And there's the mistake again. Murdo McAndrew gets it. That's now into Callum Anderson. Well, the Knights were expecting to be on the attack. They've had to go on the back foot and defend here. Hutchison gets it through. Little loop ball out towards Cooper. Cooper takes it from the pass on Savala, but he's knocked behind the line by Billy Wara. And then Samuel Derrick pounces on him.
Ball's there, he's trapped.
The ball has come back. Well, you could hear the shouts of isolated. Murdo McAndrew caught himself in a quandary there, did well to get out of it as Ian Wilson drives on. Savala plays it back, Hutchison. Sanford right at the very top of the arc, takes it down. Cross has defended him well. Keane through the hands of Hasty. It was an idea by Savala. It's going to be fly hacked through. Wasn't a thing of beauty from Rudy Brown, but he got it away and puts Heriots on the back foot. There's the turnover. The isolation. Player holding on. It was Bruce Houston who took it in, but there wasn't another blue and white jersey to provide support. Well, there was the missed pass as Hutchison tried to come through, and it was the boot of Rudy Brown that changed the course of this one.
Yeah, he certainly made amends for that, the scruffy kick, because you can see Rudy Brown just where number 4 gets himself in a really, really good position. Managed to just get round through the gate and put pressure on Bruce Houston, because when the ball's in behind, he was a fullback. He's obviously got options to either kick downfield or try and go towards the support, and he just isolated himself really when he took the ball on. He was met with some good defence from the Knights, and Rudy Brown was there just to put pressure on the ball carrier.
Nathan Chamberlain just inside the 10. Former Heriot's man drills that one, but just off target. Chance to go ahead. My 10-0 not taken.
You'd be rather upset if you needed that.
I feel the Knights have done a good job of managing this last 5 minutes, because you could see them before slowing down the play before they got to the line out. But you've not got the 3 points there, but you've managed to keep the pressure down here. So as they're exiting this half, providing they can keep a secure defence or retrieve the ball here from the 22 dropout, they'll go down the tunnel in the lead, and that'll do them the world of confidence, because it's been a really disappointing campaign. So this has probably been their best 40 minutes that they've been able to put together so far in this sprint series.
Picked up. And there's the change. Jacob Henry, 22. Takes into contact. Last action of the half. Through the hands of Wallace Nelson.
Okay, leave it out, thank you.
Out wide it comes. Here comes Henry Chalmers. Unless he get his knee to the ground. Back inside again. Fraser Rennick's had a good half. Afshar. Chamberlain. And a rumble through Isaac Bryce. Seeking some points before the break. Chamberlain again.
Tackle!
Oh, Chalmers, plenty of pace, but he is scragged in the tackle. Samuel Derrick picks up things now. I'm going myself. Afshar. There's a little pass back. And it's dropped. And they're gone. But the referee, I think, will blow for half time. Well, the lead at the Southern Knights have not been bedfellows for a long time, but they will leave the field hand in hand. The Southern Knights, as Dale said, probably the best 40 minutes of the sprint series thus far. And at half time, the Southern Knights lead Heriot's Rugby by 7 points to 0.
Managed to put together a good 40 minutes. It was probably, they were under a lot of pressure in the opening maybe 15 minutes, but since then they've showed a level of maturity, professionalism, a bit of structure that we've perhaps not seen from the Knights so far in this sprint series. And I think adding to that, both teams have been guilty of making mistakes, but the opportunity that was available for the Southern Knights they took, and they've been able to stop Heriot's as well when they've had opportunities. So it's defensively, fighting on the floor as well. I think Southern Knights, they perhaps, the scoreline probably reflects the way the first half has went.
So let's have a look at the points. It took a while to come, just in the 30th minute, but it was good play. It was well taken. Good play. And there it was Rennick that broke through, rode the challenge. But watch number 6, Alan Ferry's there. It was all about the second effort. Went once, was held. He shrugged off 2 players to get across the line. And from Andy Kelly and Heriot's point of view, they'll be disappointed they had 2 men making contact with the try scorer.
Yeah, and I think that the whole thing is the gap that Leishman perhaps leaves. You can see him just coming round just off screen just now, but when he bumps the first 2 tackles, the gap there is just a little bit too big. So they'll be disappointed. But then that's what happens when you're expecting a driving maul. You can see you'd usually be set up, all the forwards would be located there. They try and contest the ball and get it back on their side. And then it's just rugby after that, play rugby. And you can see it's Leishman who just gets round the corner there. You can see he's still trying to get in the position, leaves that gap. And it was fortunate that Alan Ferry was able to take advantage of that.
And the conversion was successful from Nathan Chamberlain, former Heriot's man. Popped that one across. And that's right at half time. The Southern Knights lead Heriot's by 7 points to 0 in a very interesting second half ahead. So with just one round of matches left of the FOSROC Super 6 Sprint Series after today's game, we're starting to look ahead to the championship, which gets underway this August. So here's a look back at last year's championship final, which was contested between the Ayrshire Bulls and the Southern Knights.
The FOSROC Super 6 Championship with a succession of championships between them and cup final appearances. But now this is a whole new competition. Bragging rights as it comes back now towards Williams. Long look pass out towards the left hand side. Ayrshire Bulls have the in for the score. Again, Southern Knights trying to protect the corner. The referee has raised the arm. Elias Caven had space to run into, and Caven is now celebrating with his teammates on that left hand side. Drawn in to that set piece, Chris, and it was a long look pass out from Williams to Caven. He's still had some work to do, but he's the man with the biggest smile on his face inside the stadium right now. Gathered up by Rory Knott, perhaps raising the right hand there now. Splinter away he goes. Harry Burtick is in over underneath the post. In fact, Zian Moody's the try scorer, but he's been held up. Keith Allen there with the palms of his hands separating, signalling, has been held up. I thought at first it was Burtick. It was Moody that made the break, and for all the world I thought he was in for a score. Southern Knights players look almost in disbelief, none more so than Ian Moody with the outstretched arms. Looking at the referee.
We'll have another look here as Moody ripped the ball off his own player. And having another look, it's Matt Davidson, and then Caven helping out. Clean through the middle. Ian Moody, as he dives towards the line. Yes, that's a wonderful effort.
On one leg trying to make some ground. This time it's Scott. Again on the angle. Picked up by Lanack. On once more. Played through by Jordan. This is going to ask a lot of the Southern Knights fullback there at the end for the score. Henry again had to position himself to try and trap the ball. You can see Bobby Beattie getting to...
It's a great touch, isn't it, from Tom Jordan. And from all the money there, it looks like Bobby Beattie's going to get it. But look at Jacob Henry fighting the right hand side of your screen. We'll slow it right down for you. That ball just almost moves towards Jacob Henry.
Camped right on that line.
Use the line, please. Use the line.
Again, Keith Allen whistle by his mouth. You can see how close they are to breaching the line. They pick and go once more. Every Ayrshire Bulls player, sole concentration to try and keep the Southern Knights out. Now they're going to spread it towards the fullback, and it's Jacob Henry who's over. He raises the arm, he celebrates the score, and this game, you feel the seesaw contest it was always going to be. Perhaps it's tilting towards Southern Knights just for the moment, as the fullback Jacob Henry takes the congratulations from his teammates. To see on the replay as Ayrshire Bulls now making some forward ground, recycled then on towards Williams. Jordan out towards that left hand side. Tate, now they've a bit of space to run into. Suddenly the Southern Knights defence look a little stretched. Recycled by McPherson. He picks the ball up but he's bundled backwards. A player is down, it's Aaron Tate. He gets back in position though, as once again the Ayrshire Bulls looking to regroup on the edge of that 22. Lanack out towards his tight head prop. Williams comes in at a rate of knots. Recycled once again and picked up this time by John Thornton. Thornton towards the line, and Thornton is over for the score. And could that be the winning score in this FOSROC final?
Plays from the Ayrshire Bulls that put loads of pressure on the Southern Knights. And there's the space ahead of George Thornton. There's the sidestep past McAndrew, and then the pace to finish and dive over. He's got the awareness to see the space and then pick and go right between it, because the Southern Knights defence was...
Back it comes though, and taken on this time by Alan Ferry, another second half replacement for Southern Knights. It's all Knights going forward, but as Chris was saying, they need to show some composure but some urgency as well. That pass just goes a little bit astray. It comes now towards Jacob Henry. Henry now towards the line. A thundering challenge coming in there on the Southern Knights fullback, and I think
in with a high swinging arm that has made direct contact with this player's head. You can see what's happened. We've no other option but a red card offence here, okay? And we're restarting with a penalty here.
He's going to his pocket. And a red card. Yes, he had a long sort of discussion there with Tom Everard. The Knights are just hammering the table in front of them in frustration. The Knights are getting close. Chris Patterson is passed on his thoughts on who's man of the match. Ayrshire Bulls, well, the ball has gone into touch. The players leave the bench. The referee glances at his watch, puts whistle to mouth, blows for full time, and even those on crutches are trying to gallop towards the Ayrshire Bulls players who are victorious.
And that rounded off a very memorable Super 6 championship season. Watching in the company of Dale Clancy, actually great to see that once more. It was a terrific old afternoon.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, it's as good an advert you'll get at Super 6 rugby. It was top quality rugby, you know, good standard. The players, you can see the passion in the game as well, and the atmosphere at the ground was phenomenal. So it was good to look back at that and see that, you know, how beneficial it is to these players. A lot of the players that you still see in Super 6, some players are on to, you know, moved on to different things, but it was a great final and certainly befitting of what the championship is about.
And in terms of the sprint series, of course, it's set up nicely. Watsonians last night led 24-0 against Ayr, and Ayr came fighting back, so Stirling County still have a puncher's chance of doing the business next week. That'll be a really interesting game. Heriots will take on the Boroughmuir Bears. You'll see that here next Saturday, but at the moment Heriots are trailing by 7 points to 0 to the Southern Knights. And one or two things that surprised me in the game, the line out, Southern Knights started really well and then started to get the line out disrupted, particularly by Rory Leishman, and they weren't looking after him in particular, trying to block him off, trying to get the jump up.
Yeah, we've spoken a lot about the Heriots forwards and how they've got a lot of second row players who are equally as comfortable in the back row, but you know, they've done a lot of homework on the Southern Knights line-outs. It's no disservice to Fraser Rennick, because he's certainly looking to hit his target. It's just the jumper of Heriots being able to get in front, get up early as well, and really contest it. And you know, there's been a couple of occasions where Southern Knights have tried to, you know, build some pressure and build some momentum, but usually it's that man Leishman that's getting up and being able to just flap the ball back and get it on a Heriot side. The only thing that the Heriots will be disappointed about is the fact that they've not really been able to build a lot of momentum off the back of it, because there was one disrupted line out, which was actually a gain from the maul. Heriots try and disrupt it, and the Knights got their score off of that driving maul. So, you know, it's been an area that Heriots have the upper hand in, but not on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think Andy Kelly will be frustrated in the Heriots dressing room. He's seen this before. You know, the team have played well. It's just little mistakes. I mean, we even saw it for the try with them not able to come and cover round, and 2 hits, and you know, Alan Ferry got in. So just little margins of error for Heriots. You feel if they could mend them, they would be, you know, up with the Watsonians and the Stirling County and the Booms.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Heriots in the first hit out of the season, and again when they played Boroughmuir Bears, because it was a really good game. And they were made to work really hard, and I thought they had the perfect blend of, you know, skillful forwards, but you know, they had a bit of size, a bit of bulk, and they had pace out in the backs as well. You know, they've perhaps been strengthened at times by likes of Chris Dean was standout on that evening at Megatland, but you know, they do have a high error count in this game, a lot of unforced errors. They're, you know, knocking on a lot of balls, they're running into traffic, they're not hitting their touch either. So, you know, a lot of times they're not really punishing Southern Knights when they make errors. They're not being ruthless enough, and you feel that that's the one thing that Heriots need to bring into their game, cut down the error count, and they've got the personnel to be able to compete at the top. And I think it's difficult to pick the standout team. They're all got so much talent and ability in their squad. It's sometimes just these fine margins. Likes of this game, Southern Knights were able to limit their error count towards the end of the half, which means they just snuck down the tunnel in the lead.
They come out for the start of the second half. You mentioned Christine, who played for Heriots. In that game we watched together, of course, he'll line up in South Africa in a few hours' time as Edinburgh take on the Stormers. So, you know, he's played at both ends. You know, you come down, he rediscovered his form, he showed Mike Blair what he could do, and he's back in that Edinburgh team, having, you know, shrugged off the injury problems that he's had. Yeah,
and I heard a lot of people on the radio as well speaking about how they maybe thought Chris Dean wasn't he wasn't that level of player, but it shows that coming and getting some game time at Super 6, it is the development ground, and that's to develop professionals and semi-professionals. So, you know, it's great to see that this is available to help build rugby in Scotland, and Christine's obviously one of the players that's certainly recently benefited from it.
Underway at the Greenyards, start of the second half, the home side all in white. It's a good early take facing Heriots and the blue and white hoops.
Use it!
And I don't want to jinx him, because I tend to do that kind of thing, but Michael
7,
Todd, the
stop,
referee,
7.
had a very
Thank
good
you.
first half in his first Super 6 game. There are changes at half time to the 30 players who left the field of play. Same men continue in terms of changes from the original 15s. Isaac Bryce on at 17, Jacob Henry on at 22 for the Southern Knights. Callum Anderson wears 20, and in the back row for Heriots. Charlie Zavala pings that through, it's an awkward one. Jacob Henry. Well, he quite likes a little run, he gets the offload too. And then it comes back into the arms of Wallace Nelson.
Ball's there.
Ball available. Billy Wara. Just a player, Billy Wara, you just expect just a little bit more from.
I totally agree. I think they need to get him into the wider areas. You know, he's not as effective in these tighter channels, but the Knights doing well to control the ball again.
Chamberlain sends the ball on the inside here. Wilson on the tackle. Chalmers protects it, comes out wide. Chamberlain. Once more, Wallace Nelson. Well, the ball was kind of loose. Chalmers did well to get on that.
First
Andy Brown leading the charge.
Tackle
the ball's there. And Heriots get the turnover.
No.
Fenton. He was fooling anybody by going himself, but he still has the power. There's a little pass on the outside. Cooper. Horrible little ball inside, dropped on well. Brown on to Henry.
Paul 17.
Cross. Trying for a 50-22.
Yep.
The ball did bounce.
Those
Right
fine,
on the line.
Yeah, those fine margins. I think it was a good option. He just, you know, he was flying pretty close to the cliff face with that kick because it just brushed onto the line. A good option from Cross, who's came off his wing there to offer himself up, try and create that overlap, and you can see it's just bounced on the line. And it's been certainly well. It was brought to the attention by Sam Picure, to the assistant referee, but it definitely, it's one of those things, one of those little mistakes that start creeping back into the game. But the Knights have started this half really with a lot of intent.
Rugby can be accused of fiddling with the rules a little bit too much in the laws, but the 50-22 has certainly brought in a different aspect.
Scrum advantage.
Scrum advantage, that wasn't straight. Here's Isaac Bryce.
Over.
Good to hear the referee calling the advantage over quickly. Chamberlain through the hands of Derek. There's Billy Wara. Oh, Godsmart pushed back on that occasion. And it's 13 trying to fight back. Half shot into Brown. Oh, Billy the try scorer. We're 6 at the back. Half shot. Chamberlain trying to find the gap, dragged down by Chris Keane. Ferry trying to get those legs pumping. Sharp saying that is not available to us, and the penalty will come for not rolling away.
Yeah, again, both teams trying to fight on the floor.
Push.
But the Knights been able to go through the phases. They're getting the support there quickly, and you can see, I think that's, was that perhaps Fraser Hastie who's been penalised for not rolling away. But the support from the Knights is getting there quickly. They've came out the tunnel with a lot of intent, a lot of urgency. They're playing direct. They've limited their error count as well. So, you know, they get a chance here to try and build on their early lead.
I find this quite interesting. I think it's the right call for the Southern Knights. I think if Heriots were leading 7-0 and had a penalty, they kicked to the corner. And the Southern Knights, without success so far in the sprint series, want the points here. What a beautiful angle from our camera team. Looks close enough for me to kick this, but I'll tell you what, this is far out for Nathan Chamberlain. Chamberlain. Oh, that's a poor one. That is a poor miss. You could see it, didn't give it a chance, curled away. That's 6 points have been left off the board on penalties, and you wonder if that will come back to haunt.
Yeah, that would make it a completely different game, but I totally agree with your point. It's I think that is the right call, because both teams are playing this game for completely different reasons, and I feel that the Knights, that is a game management call there, and being able to win these tight games. So, you know, if the regular season happens, when the regular season occurs, you know, it's those sort of decisions that need to be made. So, good call, just poor execution.
Launch long, Jacob Henry. Got the support that he needed. Fraser Hastie was ejected there. Rodan Sedak fighting for the ball. Never far away. Chamberlain spots the gap. Wilson trying to steady his defence. That's taken a while to come back. That's good play from Heriot's. Billy Warra. There's Patrick Anderson. Momentum with the home team. There's Bryce. Chamberlain. Chalmers. Oh, beautiful pass on to Henry. He's got two outside him. There's Wallace Nelson. Afshar. Ferry. Riddick. Well held. Afshar, Chamberlain. They're up very quickly, Heriots. Bryce. Back onto Warra. Well, that's crossing. I mean, that's as clear a cross as you're going to see. Wallace Nelson releasing Benjamin Afshar, but the door was opened illegally.
Yeah, I think Afshar thought all his Christmases came at once there when that gap opened, because you could see just offering the tight line there for a crash ball. Great line as well, but just you can see there, just brings that defender in. To be fair, it's not so obvious because the ball hadn't really been played yet, so he'd been tackled without the ball, but obviously it's dislodged that defender and allowed that gap for Afshar to squeeze through, but the referee just noticing that obviously that was a legal play from the Southern Knights.
Bruce Houston sends it long.
Nah, not for me. He's taken out the defender, that's the issue.
A little bit of conversation with the referee. It's interesting. I mean, I thought that was crossing immediately. I mean, you make a fair point about the defence, and you could see that Fraser Hastie was certainly concerned about the inside channel as he moved across.
Yeah, I think the referee's just explained my thought process that it has taken the defender out of where he naturally would have been. So, yeah, good call from the ref.
Lead it right.
Cammy Hutchison, 12 for Heriots, leads that charge. Now on the inside. Fenton. Carried well. McAndrew. McAndrew gets it out. Savala. That was knocked down. Referee is not unhappy about it. And here comes Chalmers. He has a little look on the inside. Cross going for it. Sanford Kerr's got him. Oh, he hasn't. He's got away. And delight for Aidan Cross. And he'll run it all the way round. It's his fourth try. And just 5 appearances for the Southern Knights, who enjoy their biggest lead of the game and perhaps of the sprint series as well.
Yeah, you can see when that ball goes down, great awareness from Chalmers, but it's not just that, it's how he's able to look around there, see what players he's got in support and what other players are there, and he's trying to cut out the run from Hutchison, who was coming across the field of play there, but that's exactly what you want to see from a winger. You want to see him in space, pin the lugs back and have a go, and it was Pecure just wasn't able to grab onto Cross. And again, another player who has been playing National 1 for Melrose, coming through up into Super 6 and scoring tries.
Great execution. And a 14-point advantage. Well, if Heriots were looking for a challenge this afternoon, I'll tell you what, they found one.
Yeah, we did say that the Knights have came out in the second half with a lot of intent, and they've benefited from it there. It's been a relentless 10 minutes from the Knights. They've came out really, really direct, and you know they benefit from a Heriot's mistake, and it's what we've been talking about before. Heriot's, you know, to be able to compete towards the top of the table, they've got to limit these mistakes. They run into a little bit of trouble there, and they're made to kind of regret it there by great awareness from Chalmers, but great pace from Cross.
Last meeting on this ground between these two sides. Southern Knights 42, Heriots 29. It was a real barnstormer. Ball, Cooper, Chamberlain and Young.
Backwards.
All for Heriots. Ferry, Baggett, Husley, Shields, penalty try and Billy Warra for the Southern Knights. Cracking game. This one setting up interestingly as well. Hastie led that charge. Sedak was calling for it, but it's picked up and taken through by Charlie Savannah. Edinburgh player. Now it comes back.
Leave it right.
Hutchison. There's McAndrew. Pull back, that's forward. Even from our angle we could see that was forward again, just a little bit over anxious.
Mistakes yet again creeping into the Heriot's game, and you feel that they're perhaps been a little bit shocked by the way that the Knights have came out. But you see here, when Savala gets the ball, the supporting players are just running a little bit too flat. The defensive pressure up from cross as well means that that's the only ball that he can play. He has to either play it tight into traffic, retain the ball, or if they want to have a go, he needs to float that ball over. And the players just getting a little bit too flat for Heriot's in the wider channels. But again, good defensive work from the Knights to try and force that option and tell them how they want them to play. So good defence.
Second!
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Yeah, hold, boys, hold. Let's go! Pressure, boys.
Ben Ashar
Yeah, go, Sam, I've got one.
gets things moving. Hutchison. It's Chalmers. Back onto Hutchison. Henry. He'll need some support, he'll get it. Patrick Anderson.
Yeah, he's lost it now.
Back once more. Nathan Chamberlain going for a little chip through. Bruce Houston. I got away from Asher beautifully, but runs into plenty of other Knights. Godsmark just had to take the knee and stay out the way there. James Cooper not dragged down. Hasty. Sedak just relentless. Sedak that time carrying.
Hold now, hold the good, thank you.
Up by Murdo McAndrew. Here comes the collision. Good contest between Cooper and Henry.
Backwards.
Back by Brown. Hutchison watches as Chamberlain will gather again. Nathan Chamberlain's taking that for a run. One man to beat. He's going to try and go on the inside himself. Sensational rugby from the former Heriot's man. And Nathan Chamberlain with one of the tries of the season for the Southern Knights.
Great awareness. I thought the move itself had fallen really flat. The referee just trying to disperse that after the try was scored. But you can see the Southern Knights trying to get the ball wide, trying to get some structure into the game, but Chamberlain just takes his foot off the gas, picks the gap and goes straight through. And it's the run here as well from Dalton Redpath, the second row just powering through, meaning that the defenders are, they've got questions to answer, and Chamberlain manages to go in for a score. Great awareness from the 10 to see the gap there and take full advantage and go it alone.
Just to get his breath back to take the kick now. The referee will be slightly sympathetic.
Just this side of the 15.
Yeah, that's a big ask. It's a great run, and then he's got to compose himself and try and get the ball in between the sticks as well. So, he's had a really good afternoon. He's been in the game in waves and fits, but he's just announced himself in the second half, and he shows how vital he is to the Knights. He is a big player for the Southern Knights.
Scored when these sides met in the regular season. Switched colours since then. Now trying to make this 21-0. Just pushes that across the front. Well, the Southern Knights have really issued the challenge here to Heriot's with 26 minutes to play. They have left some points on the field, but now a 19-point advantage.
Yeah, and I think the first half, I think the Knights were benefiting from Heriot's mistakes, but in the second half, the Knights have been well worth their 19-point advantage. They've played some really good rugby, and maybe the tide is starting to turn in terms of getting that confidence and getting that structure into their game, because it's been a very polished performance in the 15 minutes in the second half, certainly.
Edinburgh winger Jack Blaine is on, wears 23. Sampacure, the player off. Ian McLaren. There's 18 on for Dan Gamble.
Use it!
I've got two. I've got two. One side. Enough.
Stop, 7, stop.
Shah is deflected. It's taken down by Callum Anderson. Just be a little bit of fortune at Heriot's need. Savala shows good upper body strength to get through. McAndrew. First touch for Hugh McLaren. Wearing 18. McAndrew again. It's Chris Keane. Anderson supporting him. It's good clearing out. Hutchison lays the ball back. Ian Wilson is down well by Patrick Anderson. There's no release of the player, so it's an advantage going the way of Heriot's.
You got a penalty advantage.
McAndrew. Oh, the pass forward, so they'll come back for the penalty. Disappointing from a Heriot's perspective when you get that penalty advantage. You want to at least give it a little go in a forward pass. Just you can almost hear the deflation from here.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is due to the pressure that the Southern Knights are bringing on in defence. You know, they've got the free ball. Murdo McAndrew looking at his options here, and he does eventually use Ian Wilson, who's coming that tight line, and that must be a very fine margin for a forward pass, because it looked pretty good from here. But obviously the referee was in a great position to see that forward pass. But you know, defensively, the Southern Knights have been pretty solid. They've leaked a lot of points so far this season. They've conceded 219 points in the sprint series, so they have leaked a lot of points. But certainly here they look really strong in defence, round the tight areas, round the fringes, but also out wide, because Heriots are looking to test them in the wider channels, and you can see Patrick Anderson, the defensive work he does there, coming off his wing, putting pressure on Ian Wilson, who's a back row, big ball carrier, puts him to ground. He does concede the penalty, but he's there to make the tackle, which has perhaps been a slight change from recent weeks.
Billy Warrett getting some attention, he's back up. And around, yeah, they have conceded the minimum. They've conceded 24 points in the loss to Stirling County. And, well, they have had problems. They've lost by 17, by 9, 14, 50, 13 and 18 in the last several games. 14 tries and 6 matches coming into this. Through 11 different players, they do spread their scoring around today. Alan Ferry, Aidan Cross and Nathan Chamberlain with the tries. Heriots trying to find their own way onto the scoreboard. Josh Scott is on for Chris Keane.
17, don't change.
Ian Wilson is the player at the back. Oh, that's easy. There was absolutely nobody at home for the Southern Knights. The skipper with a dot down, and Heriots are back in this.
Yeah, that's Southern Knights will be really disappointed with that, because that is very, very easy. You can see Wallace Nelson just lurking around the side of that maul, and he's then got to commit himself. So he does go with the direction that the maul's moving in, but Ian Wilson just spots that he's moved off his post and waltzes in for what is one of the easiest tries you'll see from the back of a maul. Ian Wilson just seeing that it's opened up, gets over the line and gets a score.
7 tries in 22 appearances at Super 6 level for Ian Wilson, and few will have been easier than this. The gap was there, and he just said, yep, I'll take that. Houston, they try and cut the lead. Flag up. So 12 points the gap, 22 minutes to play.
We've seen a lot of games in the sprint series. One team perhaps looks in control for about an hour, and another team somehow manages to find its way back in. You just look at the last minute Stirling County win last weekend with the drop goal for some evidence of that. So this game's still got a lot of rugby to play, and Heriot will certainly fancy their chances, especially with the replacements coming into the field.
Back off flute.
That was Marcus Holden that got that drop goal, one of the ugliest drop goals you'll ever see, but if it goes through the post it counts. And his smile and his reaction was wonderful. Ben Afshar replaced by Murray Redpath.
No.
Taken by Henry. In a little bit of trouble. Ross Jones has replaced Ross Houston as well. Oh, there was a little gap there. They almost took it. Redpath. Now it will come on. And here comes Patrick Anderson. Hutchison. That comes out long. Billy Warrett is there.
Tackle now!
Oh, it just went through the hands of Alan Ferry.
Scrum advantage!
And there's the mistake. Scrum advantage. Charlie Savala just pings that one through. On a scrum advantage. Just went for a little clip kick through, trying to get Jack Blaine involved.
13 and 15
All
Heriot.
you do essentially is just turn the ball back over.
Yeah, I think he was left with little options in terms of when the turnover happened. The ball ended up in his hands, and he's trying to get some go forward and trying to make it a foot race. If you kick it in behind, then you know there's a chance the ball might bounce up into one of your own players' hands, but just not able to on that occasion. But this is where Heriots want to be playing. They want to be forcing these little mistakes. Although that was a knock-on from the Knights, but they want to force the little mistakes and then play down in the Knights' half. And certainly the next score in this game is going to be a huge one for whichever team gets it.
Late to the line out, Callum Anderson. It's taken well by Rudy Brown. Fraser Rennick, he's going to get scragged and held in there. He needs some help. I'm not convinced they're going to get this out of here. Good luck to the referee on this one. Yep.
Yeah, the Heriots, again, unorthodox in terms of defence, but they were scragging and trying with all their might to get that. And you heard the call over the ref mic saying number 8, so it was in the hands of Sam Derrick, and you'll see his knees go to the ground. He's looking to try and get the referee to call the tackle or trying to get the ball back on their side, but I think that's either Cammy Fenton or Linus. I think that might be Michael Linus, actually, who's all over that ball there, just over the top of it, and puts a bit of pressure on. And you know, unorthodox defensive work at the Mall from Heriots, but really, really good.
Yeah, you could just see the way it splintered, Dale, that it was going to be Heriots there. The referee's almost standing back thinking, yeah, I'm going to call the scrum here.
Yeah, as soon as Rennick was isolated, he started getting the slaps on the back from the Heriots players as they tried to scrag the shirt and just suck him back into where they were. And as soon as he was engulfed, then you know the momentum in that Mall is completely taken away, and you've got to fight hard to get the ball back.
3 tries to 1, 19 points to 7.
Use it!
On a beautiful afternoon on the Scottish borders. It's a lovely little run, Hutchison. Hutchison is a man on the inside, it's taken in well. And that is terrific play. That's Zach Smith that's come through. And on his debut, that is a lovely piece of work from Heriot. And Zach Smith, the 18-year-old, just been on the field a few minutes, sitting nicely on the shoulder. The pass just a little bit behind him. Billy Water couldn't do anything about it. And Zach Smith with a smile.
That arc and run from Hutchison is beautiful from a 12. It's just, looking to try and set up, but he's just managed to go inside the Chamberlain and then arc his run out the way to go to his support. It's a brilliant run from a 12. That's off first phase ball, off a scrum. Again, Southern Knights will be really disappointed with the fact that they've conceded such a cheap try from first phase ball. But it's a great run from Hutchison.
And the conversion, pretty straightforward. It's amazing how the game can change. You know, after 57 minutes, 19-0, Ian Wilson gets the first try, Zach Smith the second, and all of a sudden it's game on. And if you're Southern Knights and you've not won in the sprint series, just those nerves flooding through your system.
And it all comes back from that kick from Savala. You know, that turnover ball from a Knight's mistake. He kicks downfield. They put a bit of pressure on at the set piece. They get the ball from a scrum and they're in. And that's how quick these games can turn and change. But it's exactly what we said. If the next team to score, it makes it, it pretty much dictates how the rest of this game is going to be played out. Fortunately for us watching on, it's a Heriot score, so it keeps it really, really interesting. And there's two ways to this as well, because the Knights now have to manage this game. Heriots they've won games in the sprint series, so they've got a long 15 minutes for both sides.
Super 6 averages just short of 8 tries a game. We've had 5 so far. Wallace Nelson leads the charge. Southern Knights' only point in the sprint series has been a try bonus in the loss at Heriot's. Have a little ball round the corner, taken in by Murray Redpath. Advantage coming. Josh Scott was in an offside position. That'll come back for the penalty.
Whoa, settle. 17 always offside, never onside. 17.
Murray Redpath, just take it a little bit easy. I mean, you've got to commend him for him trying to move things quickly. But I think you just need a breath at this stage.
Yeah, I think his teammates will be glad that Michael Todd was telling him to settle, because you know, it looked like he was wanting to go quick, but this is where the game management side of things comes in. You can utilise the time for the penalty, take a bit of momentum, a bit of wind out of the sails of the opposition, and size up your options. But Chamberlain, who's left a few kicks out there this afternoon, fancies another pop at the sticks.
Oh, I'd love to make this one just to extend it to 8 points. And again, I make no apologies for mentioning this again. On a different day, they kicked for the corner. And they're desperate not to go through this campaign without a win. That's their last match. Heriot's will play next week against Boroughmuir. Here's Nathan Chamberlain. That was a carbon copy of the last kick. I honestly thought he would try and go wider on the arc to bring it round, but it's two from almost that same place.
Yeah, that's really poor from such an experienced 10. He's had two very similar kicks, and if anything, they're getting worse as they go on, because that was, you know, that never really looked like from tee to post. It never looked like it was going to threaten the posts, and that is the game management side of things. You need to take your chances, you need to take your opportunities, but 19 points to 14, it's still as teed up as going to be a cracking finish.
Use it!
Well, Nathan Chamberlain made up from the miscues last time from the boot with a terrific try from his own 10-metre line. Redpath through onto Ferry. Ferry, well, he's being held up at the moment. The ball is called. The knee went down. And the maul had been called, therefore that's going to be Heriot's. And that was without Fraser Hastings getting some treatment on this near side.
Yeah. Time off.
And the referee will call time off. 14 minutes to play, 5-point advantage for the Knights. 7 of the 18 sprint games decided by 7 points or less. And here we are, dealing with a 5-point contest.
Yeah, and I think those little margins there defensively from Heriot's, they're starting to grow into this game. Be a little bit more clinical as well, but you could see when Ferry took that ball in, he was just far too high. He's having to try and wrestle and ride to get the ball back on a Knight's side, but he's fighting pretty tall to get the ball back. So the Heriot's players managing just to engulf him, surround him, and choke the life out of him and get the scrum, because the ball was never coming back from that position. But they'll be hoping that Fraser Hasty can
no worries. You're right.
get back to his feet, which he does, and because he's a very important player for Heriot's.
Yeah, Fraser Hasty, replacement in the last 2 games, starting today.
Finn's standing right there, so he's got the mark for me. Time back on. Maul to ground, scrum, blue ball.
Good communication from the referee, Michael Todd. Players appreciate it, us commentators appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about rugby. It's the officials are always well respected, and I think the communication between them and players is always great to hear. It adds a different layer to the game. And obviously a glaring difference between this and other sports such as football, where we get full access to the referee's thoughts and articulation as well.
In by Murdo McAndrew, held at the back by Heriot's. That ball appeared to be out, it was just flicked back. Knights almost stole. Heriot's reset, no way through for Rory Leishman. There's the long kick, and it's looking for the chase. Henry trying to find a gap. Just had his heels held there by Michael Linus, 16. Redpath. Brown. Redpath again. Chamberlain. There's big Isaac Bruce waiting for that one.
He pulled out.
Redpath through the hands of Chamberlain. No way through. Good tackling from Heriot, but they were in advance of the ball to steal it.
Rock first, you can't play it.
Yeah, you can see here, just right in front of the referee. Good play from Chamberlain. He's tipping on there, and the Heriot's defenders are putting a lot of pressure on, but you can see hands just right in front of the referee. Leishman thinking that he's got access to try and fight for that ball, but the referee was quick on that and gives the penalty. But you know, they do know the danger of Chamberlain, and I feel Heriots are defending him pretty well. They're coming up quick on him, but he's doing well to get the ball through the hands and size up his options.
In defence of the Heriots, you see that ball squeak out to the side and you're thinking, is that out? The temptation's almost too great.
Yeah, the human instinct, isn't it? Certainly a rugby player's instinct as well. When the ball's in front of you, you want to get your hands on the ball, but just the referee noticing that and that's going to be a free kick to Heriots, I think, for the delay in getting to the line out. So, you know, these needless little opportunities for the opposition are creeping back in, but certainly not seen that in a while.
That's a big call from Michael Todd. It does affect the game. Now, according to the referee, you might have heard just coming across, Ref Mike, he had warned before.
He's warning there, you can see he's telling them to, you know, he's gesturing, telling them to get to the line out quick. And I think that's a good thing, because, you know, we want to watch a game of rugby. We don't want to watch 8 men trundle towards a line out. So we want to watch rugby. So Michael Todd's doing well to, you know, try and dictate an element of the pace of the game.
Set.
Andy Kelly's side, trail by 5. Bruce Ruffin looking for his first win as Super 6 coach. And the Southern Knights, who replaced Rob Christie, went to the Edinburgh Rugby Academy. And the penalty will come the way of Heriots. No, he's just saying you've got to be 10, but Grant Shears was a little bit slow to retreat on that occasion. That is some kick.
Yeah, and when you look at that as well, the Southern Knights had pressure just outside the Heriots 22. They amble towards the line out. They then concede a penalty, and then they concede 50 odd metres, because that is a huge kick from Savala. You can see Aidan Cross is just trying to hope that it's going to come back to be able to be contestable, to keep it in the field of play. But that is how you manage and win rugby games, and Heriots have done a great job of breaching into this Southern Knights half.
If Heriot's going to win this game, there's a very clear picture that you can point to.
No.
Here Wilson at the back. Wilson now breaks on his own. Brace was in there. Ball on the floor. McAndrew pulls it back. Sidak. Solid defence needed by the Knights here. As the ball pops out and on the inside, Anderson trying to drive through.
Use it.
Anderson requested to use it. Away through for Josh Scott. And is it Brace? The two 17s, two props coming together. Getting away through for Rui Leishman.
Use it.
Hasty waits. Cross goes in on the tackle. That comes out. Hutchison, lovely little ball on the inside. Savala.
It's not on ball. No.
McAndrew there.
Counter-ruck's
Well, the counter-ruck. That's good play for the Knights. That was available to counter-rucks, precisely what they did. Redpath. Dalton Redpath leading the charge, gets his body back in good position. And Murray Redpath waits at the base. Well, he's saying that came off the Heriots player. I think he's
I agree.
basically saying, yes. I thought for a minute the officials had missed that.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a bad kick, so it was well aware, good awareness there from Murray Redpath to bring that to the attention. But I think Heriots were fortunate to be able to get to there, because it looked like Ian Wilson had released his bind in the maul and then just crashed back in. So it looked like he disengaged from the maul. The referee, either he's not picked it up or it's not happened, one or the other. But Heriot's been able to build some good momentum. But again, the Knights fighting on the floor really well, putting a bit of pressure on, and they're fortunate that they've got the advantages. Patrick Anderson's been in the wars.
Yeah, it's going to perhaps need a stitch or two. I think it's Ben Pickles who'll come on. Nice moment to come on to 7 minutes to play. Your team have a 5-point advantage.
Getting sorted.
Yeah, Ben Pickles has been playing for Selkirk in the Premiership. He's a really exciting player, can play in the centre, can play in the wing, and he's a young player that they're certainly having a look at to try and see if they can help nurture and aid his development and progression. So again, exactly what the Super 6 platform's for, but Pickles making his debut.
I'm not going to go into it either.
So Ben Pickles is on, the 37th player used by the Southern Knights in the Super 6. And the 10 of those have only come off the bench. Some running replayers for Michael Linus. Dale Clancy alongside me has the job of identifying the FOSROC Super 6 player of the match. We'll give that some thought over the next few minutes.
Yeah, the second half's made it a little bit easier to try and pinpoint people, because the first half it was very attritional, but there's certainly been some key players in this game. But you know, it's such a fine, the game's now such a fine margin between both sides. It could be interesting to see what the last kind of 7 minutes holds.
Big throw for Fraser Rennick here. Went to the safety blanket at the front.
Don't change.
Just trying to hold the bind.
That's once.
Right path, you can hear the communication saying he's about to kick. And Heriot's for right. Got plenty of height on the kick. Put some pressure on Cooper. Comes across Ross Jones. And here's a chance for Jack Blaine. Blaine well tackled. Chalmers in there. It looked a little bit messy in from the side.
There, Mark's there.
Yeah, I think if he kept running, he could have probably went down the tunnel, because he came in for the side that much. But it's these things that, if you've not been winning games and you've not got the confidence, you get a little bit frantic. And now, Heriot's kick it downfield and just re-enter back into the position that they were previously.
At the moment, these missed points from the boot from the penalties of Nathan Chamberlain. He's missed 3 penalties, are looming large.
Hang on.
As Jamie Campbell completes the exodus from the bench. Fraser Hasty is off. Taken by Leishman.
Don't change.
There's the player at the back. He's having to hold on there. Linus right in front of him. I say get it longer.
17, don't change. No, get out.
The Knights, as a scrum cap has come loose.
Yeah,
it's now wrapped around somebody's ankle. Hutchison.
Penalty advantage, yes.
Penalty advantage coming the way of Heriot, so they can fling this one about, or Zavala can go for the cross kick.
Offside, no advantage.
Cooper in an offside position as the kick was launched, but they will come back for the penalty.
21, collapse.
Good to see the options were there. If Cooper had just held his run, that would it would probably been a score, because he's scored quite a few of these crossfield kicks. He's good under the high ball, but if he just held his run, he perhaps could have had an easier run in. But the pressure coming on, you can hear that call as well. Get them all longer. So when it did collapse, the ball was playable. So it was a really good call to hear over the ref, Mike, because that's exactly what's been happening to Southern Knights. They've not been able to get the length in the maul, which has meant that when the maul grinds to a halt, the ball's congested, it's stuck up there. So really good awareness from Heriot and good communication.
It's a 5-point game as Leishman will go for the rolling maul here. It's usually with Wilson, but they have managed to drop it.
Let it come!
Roland Sedak is the player off. Fraser Hasty remains on the field. Change from Heriot. Ewan McLaren was waiting for it. You see 19 Jamie Campbell. They'll try and bring it out wide. Inches short. It was close, Jack Blaine. Heriot's inches away, although it's a good drive from the Southern Knights, trying to put Heriot's out into touch.
Advantage, offside, 7.
Oh, Knights have come, they're offside. Wallace Nelson, it's a free play here.
Use it!
Josh Scott has been driven forward. McAndrew, which isn't calling for it, gets it. Little ball in behind, Savala takes a bounce. Cooper will go in at the corner. Did he drop it as he put it across? No try. The knock on, that's a great spot by the officials, but the penalty will still come.
Yeah, it was great defence to get across and scramble across, because you know it was a nailed on try. The Heriots have been doing that a lot. They pass the ball out the back, they know they've got a runner there. It was a scrappy pass, but great defensive work there from, I think is that Jacob Henry who came across there to make that tackle, and the ball's knocked on over the line. Brilliant defence, but the pressure's still mounting.
What a Henry and Cross all involved. Here comes pressure again. It's also entering what you class as yellow card territory. The scrum has been called for.
Good call. I think up front there's been a few replacements, but you know, up front Heriots have been in the ascendancy, so this will be a really testing scrum for the Southern Knights.
Well, the Southern Knights have got just one replacement in the front row at the moment, Isaac Brace. Heriots with Linus Scott McLaren all on. 2 minutes to play. You see Gary Hutchison waiting for this. And the referee said it's held up. We'll re-scrum. So Dale, I mean, there's been plenty of players here.
For me, both are up.
Plenty of players you could consider. And who are you going to go for our FOSROC Super 6 Sprint Series player of the match?
I think both teams have had a lot of key players. I think Savala's been pretty good for Heriots at 10. Dalton Redpath's been brilliant in the second row for the Southern Knights, as well as the Leishman for Heriots. But I think Sam Derrick has been really productive. You know, he's fought well on the floor. He's carried ball well. He's been. It's good to see him, because he's a National 1 player coming up to Super 6, and I think he's certainly not looked out of place, and I think just marginally he's perhaps put himself out about a bit more than Dalton Redpath, so he's the FOSROC Super 6 player of the match.
Heriots with a push inside the final minute. Wilson trying to come round, and the referee says penalty for taking it round. Just wondered for a second if he was going to jog underneath the posts. So
not driving straight.
Here we go again, not driving straight, the Southern Knights. This is it for the Southern Knights. Can they hold off? There's Linus driving in. Still coming forward. Heriots think they've got it there. The referee says they're held up. All or nothing, right at the death. Martin McAndrew calling for it. It's a knock on by Heriots, and the Southern Knights will win this one. There's the little pass inside. Well, and Henry trying to interchange. Chalmers, if they can get this away. Basically, they want to hold on here. Here's Chamberlain. Chamberlain in advance, sends it through to Jacob Henry. Henry trying to get away from Cooper. Cooper with a terrific tackle in the corner. Chamberlain in there, Redpath in there. Fraser Rennick, the skipper. It is time off.
No, don't play.
Time is over. They're going to try. Will they go for the score? Will they just try and pop this ball out? They'll take the win. Heriots were centimetres away from wrapping things up with a potential conversion to come to win it. But in the end, the Southern Knights took advantage of the slip, advantage of the knock-on. It has been a long and torturous FOSROC Super 6 Sprint Series for the Southern Knights, but they emerge at the end with a victory. Southern Knights 19, Heriots 14.
we praised their defensive effort throughout the game. There was 2 lapses in concentration with the let Heriots in, but that is when it matters. That's when you win games, and it's great defensive work there from the Southern Knights to force the knock-on. That's not an error from a player. That's because there's players bearing down on them. Billy Wara around the corner puts a bit of pressure on Wallace Nelson with the offload, and all of a sudden the Southern Knights, from centimetres away from losing the game, they managed to go down the other end and get rid of the pressure. So really, really good play from the Southern Knights.
So Heriots will pick up a losing bonus point, but it's the Southern Knights who'll pick up the points for winning, and well, it'll just bring joy to them. What a way to end your season. They didn't want to go 0-7, and they found a way when it mattered. Heriots will take a single point, but the Southern Knights will take the 4 points for the victory.
Yeah, and the Super 6, we've spoken about it before, about there's not a lot separating the teams. There has been a lot separating everybody else on the Southern Knights so far this season, but that win gives confidence. That win helps put a bit of belief in the squad and the players and the coach to say that things aren't all bad. You know, it's sometimes a game on luck, and you feel the Southern Knights did get a little bit of luck today, but their endeavour and their effort that they put into defensively and in attack, they were assured, they were clinical when the opportunities were there, and I think they deserved the win. I think Heriots were a little bit clumsy and a little bit sloppy, and I think their game is perhaps underlined by that knock-on at the end. It kind of epitomises the way that they approached the game today, but Southern Knights, they managed to, get that win, and it gives them a bit of confidence ahead of the regular season.
The 19th sprint game of the season, the 8th to be decided by 7 points or less, and Heriots looked like they were going to score to level things up with a kick to win it, but somehow the Southern Knights got that vital turnover and they almost scored at the other end. But once they realised that the 80 minutes had ticked away, Nathan Chamberlain was delighted just to pop that ball out of play. Sam Derrick is the FOSROC Super 6 sprint player of the match, and there were certainly many contenders as Dale outlined. It's good, as you mentioned, to see players stepping up from the level below.
Yeah, it definitely will. It's even the league below that, but from the defensive effort, he made the second last tackle at that breakdown on his try line, and he was the second player clearing out when Jacob Henry was up the other end. So you can see the work rate in the number 8. He's hungry for it. He wants to be in this environment, and I think he played tremendously well without doing anything spectacular, but just applying himself as a rugby player, working hard, working for your teammates, being there in support and doing your job well. And I think it is great to see. It's great to see these young players getting the chance on a platform such as this.
Yeah, the 18-year-old doing well. So let's have a look back on the tries that were scored this afternoon, on a beautiful afternoon at the Greenyards. This was the opening one. Fraser Rennick going through, and Alan Ferry wears 6 just on the shoulder, and doing well here, Dale, to clear out the Heriots players that were in his way. Yeah,
it was we've said the word unorthodox from the mauls, because most of them have been, but you can see the ball squirms out of the maul, and from that the Heriots defenders are not expecting it, because they're expecting that driving maul, and Leishman, who's just run past their screen just now, he's just not in position. He's just not there enough. Ferry does well to get round the outside and just utilise that little gap that Leishman left.
Nathan Chamberlain 2 out of 3 with the conversions. That was the first one of those, and this was just good play. Chalmers picking up very well, but it's about the lines that were run here, and Aidan Cross accepted this. I thought Savagura got him, but he just got the jersey and he evaded. And Aidan Cross, this was just shortly after the restart. That's the way it's got to try.
It definitely is. Great awareness from Chalmers to pick up that bouncing ball, but you perhaps don't see it as well from this angle. But as soon as Chalmers has got that ball, you can actually see Cross. He's speaking to him, he's telling him where he is, and he's saying it, he wants the ball. And he's another player that's stepping up from the Melrose Club game from National 1 into the Super 6, and he's taking it to like a duck to water.
So at that point, it was 12 points to 0. Nathan Chamberlain with the simple task of popping the ball through the post for a 14-0 advantage. He would then go on to miss a penalty, and that was problematic, but I'll tell you what, this was a great run. He mops this one up, and from his own 10-metre line, watch the acceleration, saw the gap, it was about the vision, saw the gap, and then took on the defenders. It was a great cross run as well by Dalton Redpath to free up the space, And a terrific try from the former Heriot's player.
Yeah, this is what it's all about. It's difficult to find gaps in defence at Super 6 level until they're fragmented, and that's exactly what happens here. It's not expecting it. He goes back into the contact area where all the players are getting back to their feet, trying to get back into the game, and he just sees the gap, goes through. But not just that, being able to have the footwork and the evasive footwork to get round the last defender and the pace to go in the corner.
Now, if you're Heriots, who do you want to get you on the score sheet? Well, Ian Wilson's done it time and time again. You see him at the back from the driving ball, and he's always looking, communicating, and then he just peels away, saw the gap, simple. And you just wonder, just at that moment, will it be the same old Southern Knights just dropping back? But this was far too easy.
Yeah, it's, you know, you commonly see a hooker at the back of the line out, the back of the maul when it forms, but Ian Wilson, it's his position. He loves being at the back there, just seeing the space, and it was actually Wallace Nelson got brought into that maul because of the momentum that it had, which meant that the gap was there, so it was as easy as you like for Ian Wilson.
British Houston adding on the conversions. That came after 58 minutes, just 4 minutes later. He was on the park for just a couple of minutes, and it was great work from Cameron Hutchison. But what about this from young Zach Smith?
Great supporting line. You know, that's initially the arc and run is brilliant from Hutchison, because what he's done is he's been able to go in the inside shoulder of the 10, but he's also then running back out to his support. But the support play there from the youngster, just on the shoulder, all he needs to do is shout, tell him where he is, and then he's got the easy job of going over the line. We're able to outstretch Billy Wara as well, but you know, good play from Heriot's all round off first phase ball.
Savala with the points all the way through, and that was to be the end of the scoring. It was a dramatic game, and there is the FOSROC Super 6 Sprint player of the match. Fraser Rennick, the skipper, will just pop that round the neck of Sam Derrick. Player of the match, certainly deserved a handshake from the skipper, and smiles too from the Southern Knights. Why not? It's the last sprint game of the season, and Daly worked hard to get all the points.
Yeah, I think there wasn't much to split any of the Melrose players, the Southern Knights players. To be fair, they all, you know, worked hard for each other, which is something that perhaps hasn't been, you know, a quality of their side over the last few weeks. But you know, it's great to get a win. It's great for them to get that win, get the, you know, that little burden that's been haunting them for this sprint series. Get the win. It gives them confidence going into the regular season. And you know, some players will come in and out of this squad, but certainly it's been a good showing, and it's good to see Sam Derrick as well putting his hand up.
And the Southern Knights won't mind seeing the table so much now, because they have finally got a win on the board. They will finish with 5 points, the win and 1 try bonus point from the previous meeting against Heriot's. Watsonians Rugby still lead the way. Stirling County in second. They will go head to head next Friday evening, and next Saturday afternoon Boroughmuir Bears and Heriot's Rugby will also go head to head for the best of the bottom half of the table. And here's confirmation of those fixtures. Watsonians against Stirling County for the title. Heriot's against Boroughmuir. Heriot's will be classed as the home side. The match will be played at Megatland. Heriot's have won there already this season. It's going to be 2 good games to round off the Super 6 Sprint Series, the FOSROC Super 6 Sprint. We hope you've enjoyed all the action from the Greenyards and Melrose. It was certainly exciting. Plenty of tries, plenty of drama, and it went right down to the final play of the game. The Southern Knights winners by 19 points to 14. On behalf of all the crew, for Dale Clancy and myself, Paul Mitchell, thanks for watching. Bye for now.